I wanted to share with you the presentation I went through with the seniors yesterday about FAFSA applications, scholarships, all of that senior year information. So starting with the FAFSA. This is all done online. There is no more paper and pencil applications like there were way back in the day. This is something that you have to apply for every single year that you need it. So if you're going to plan to go to college or trade school next year, need financial help, you will fill this out this school year, next school year, every year that you need it until you no longer need, until you're in your last year of either your program or your last year of college, whatever you're deciding to do. There's three main components of the FAFSA. There's loans, which is just like any other loan. It's money that you borrow that you will have to pay back with interest. According to the FAFSA site, they're looking at a 6.5% to an 8% interest rate on subsidized and unsubsidized loans. Subsidized loans do have the lower interest rate at 6.53, and these loans are great because while you're in school, the government is covering the interest on it for you, so it's not accumulating while you're going through your program, going through your schooling, any of that. As with unsubsidized loans, these are the ones that are closer to 8% interest, and these are the types of loans that while you're in school, the second you decide to accept that loan, the interest does start accumulating on it. And so it is building while you're in school. So just keep that in mind when it comes to selecting loans and how much loans you're taking out and things like that. Work study is another program that they offer through the FAFSA. It is a question on the FAFSA. It will ask you if you're interested in participating in the work study program. Essentially what that is you will either work on campus or very, very, very close to campus. The school will work your work schedule around your classes, so you will never have an issue of, well, I have work at the same time that I have class. That won't happen. The school does a very good job of making sure you are only scheduled to work when it won't interfere with your classes. Typically, this is almost always part-time. Typically, I think you're looking at 10 to 18 hours a week, roughly. And again, you would either be on campus or very, very, very close to campus. So if you're interested in work study, when you do your FAFSA, it'll ask you a question of, are you interested? You select yes or no. Work study is based on financial need. And so if the government thinks that your family does not have a financial need, you may not qualify for work study. But if you do, they will then reach out to you, get your work set up, take care of all of that. But you do have to indicate on the FAFSA that you want to be considered for it. And it is on a first come, first serve basis, I believe. And so I know sometimes jobs do run out with work study. And typically the money that you earn can be used for like day-to-day things like gas or groceries, books, things like that. But there are some schools who will allow you to use it to pay for tuition and fees, room and board, things like that. But that is dependent upon the school. So if you're considering work study, you'll want to check with the financial aid department at the school you're planning to go to see how they allow you to allocate that money. If you can use it for school-related things or if it's more for just yourself for like your day-to-day spending. Grants are free money. The two biggest that you will see coming from the FAFSA is the MAP and the Pell Grant. The Pell Grant is a federal grant that can be used to pay for tuition, fees, things like that. The MAP grant is you have to be going to school in the state of Illinois in order to qualify for the MAP grant. I guess in order to be able to obtain the MAP grant, you have to be going to school in Illinois. And if you are awarded it but decide to go to school in Missouri, you will then lose the MAP grant because it does only cover the costs for Illinois schools. Not everyone qualifies for grants. They are also based on financial need. And so just keep that in mind when you're doing your loan application, that not everybody does qualify for grants. And so if you don't see any grants on your aid report when you get it, that typically means that you have not, the money that you make, your parents make, is too high to qualify for grants. But the MAP and the Pell Grant are the two biggest that you will see coming from the FAFSA. And to apply for those, all you have to do is complete the FAFSA. You don't have to do anything else with it. Just completing your FAFSA is your application for the MAP and the Pell Grant. To complete your FAFSA, from what we're being told, it is going to open on December 1st. We were told that last year also. It opened on a different day. But for now, they're telling us December 1st is when it's going to open. Typically in the past, it has always opened in October. But with the simplification process, and they've had some issues with it, and so they are saying December 1st, 2024 is when the FAFSA for next school year will open up. Grants do tend to run out, and so get your application done early if you want to be considered for grants. Students and parents will need an FSA ID. Parents, if you yourself took out student loans, or if you have an older child that you have done a FAFSA for, you will already have an FSA ID. You do not need to create a new one. If you don't know how to retrieve it or have lost the information, you can go to the FSA ID website, and there is a retrieval button on there somewhere that will help you get it figured out so that you know what your FSA ID is. But if you've already created one, you do not need to create another one. It'll be all the same one. Students, if you worked in 2023 and received a W-2, you will need that also when reporting financial information on the FAFSA. They will want yours and your parents. If you did not work last year or did not earn enough to get a W-2, don't worry about it then. But if you got a W-2 last year, you'll need that also when it comes time to complete your FAFSA. And then you'll need to know your social security numbers, both yours and your parents. It's just, you have to put all that information into the FAFSA in order to receive your loan. Some other information, not everyone qualifies for grants. Again, not everyone qualifies for grants, and everyone qualifies for loans either. You may do your FAFSA and realize that you're not getting anything, which does happen. So just kind of keep that in the back of your mind. Know where you're wanting to send the FAFSA. So if you have a list of 5 or 6 schools that you're considering, send it to all of them. So that way the schools have them. They can start processing for your student aid report. But whatever school you decide to go to, that's the school that that's the only school that your FAFSA will be like fully submitted to. So if you put, Northern, ISU, Western, and Southern, and decide to go to Southern, Southern's the only one who would actually then fully process your FAFSA. They're the only ones that you would select loans for, so you're not going to be getting bills from other schools. But any schools that you're potentially going to apply for or interested in, make sure you send your FAFSA to them so that way they have the information and you're not waiting on getting a student aid report if you decide to send it later. You can send it later, though. So if you change your mind down the road, you can send it later, even if you already submitted your FAFSA. But any schools that you are maybe slightly interested in, just go ahead and send it when you do your initial one. I do recommend that you talk to the financial aid advisor before accepting any loans, just so you can have a clearer idea of what's going to be expected of you once you graduate, how much your loans are going to be, considering how long you plan on being in school and all of those things. Obviously, they won't be able to give you an exact number, but they will be able to talk you through kind of how to figure that out. You get a 6-month grace period once you graduate to start paying back your loans. But I do strongly recommend talking to the financial aid advisor at the school you plan to go to just about the loans before you accept anything. Completing the FAFSA or the FAFSA waiver is a graduation requirement. We'll talk about the waiver in a second, but doing the FAFSA or the waiver, you have to have one of those two on file. I will keep track of it also. What I do ask is, if you decide to do the FAFSA, once you complete it, if you could just send me like the verification email. I don't need any other information from the FAFSA other than just that, like, thanks for doing your FAFSA email. Once I have that, I can get you marked off, because then we have to report to the state if you met that requirement and all of that. So just go ahead and forward that to me, and that would be great. But you do have to do the FAFSA or the waiver as a graduation requirement. Your FAFSA is not going to tell you how much money you're going to make. Not how much money you're going to make, how much money you're going to get from loans. It will then get sent over to the college at some point. It's usually February, March. Since it's not opening till December, I'm going to guess it's probably closer to like end of March, beginning of April, when you will get your student aid report from the school that you decide that you want to go to. And that will tell you how much in loans, how much in grants, how much in scholarships. It'll have all of the financial aspects of it written out there. So when you submit your FAFSA, it's not really going to give you any information. So just keep that in the back of your mind. Dependent students will need their parents' financial information. They cannot do a FAFSA without it. They cannot submit a FAFSA without their parents' information. And there are a lot of requirements in order to be considered independent. So if you have questions about that, reach out to me and let me know. If families' financial circumstances change, So like if a major medical bill comes up, or if somebody loses their job, or if someone has to take a pay cut or something like that, or you're having to support somebody else now, let the college know. Colleges always typically have some extra money that they can allocate to students in need. They are not going to reach out to you to see if you need more money. They do require you to reach out to them, but typically colleges will have extra funds that they can award to people on a needed basis. And so if something changes, reach out to the college and see what they can do to help you. We will do at least one FAFSA completion night. I typically we do two, but ISAC is not scheduling appointments yet or anything like that, so I can't guarantee that, but we will do at least one. It'll be sometime, I'm hoping in December. I would like to get it done before Christmas break, but again, we're working with their schedules also, and so we're hoping to get it done before Christmas break, but I can't guarantee that, but we will be having at least one. I do ask that you sign up, just especially if we have more than one, because if we have no one signed up for one of the nights, we're not going to ask someone to drive here from Springfield if no one's going to be here. So I do ask that once we have that information out there that you do sign up, and I will send emails and stuff like that once I have that date or dates set. But again, if you want to come or plan to come, please let me know once we have that information out there. The waiver is really only for people who 100% are not going to college, trade school, will absolutely not need any sort of financial help paying for school, or students going into the military, things like that. They would then do a FAFSA waiver. It's a real quick online form. Once the student is 18, they can fill it out themselves. If they will not be 18 before graduation, a parent will need to fill it out for them. If you do a waiver, you can still do a FAFSA at some point. So if you change your mind at some point, you absolutely can still do your FAFSA. But you have to have a FAFSA or the waiver on file prior to graduation to meet that requirement. Seniors get 2 college visits per year. They do not count towards the 9 parent notes that they get, but any after the 2 would count towards the 9 days. Mrs. Cooper has a form in her desk. Go and ask her for the form. The front page goes to the college with you. You'll have whoever you meet with sign it, saying that you were there. You'll bring it back, give it to Mrs. Cooper. That's your excusal for the day. Parents do not need to write you an additional note. The second page, parents will need to sign. Your teachers will need to sign. Mrs. Fricky needs to sign. And then that will need to be turned in before you leave for your college visit day. So make sure you get those forms from Mrs. Cooper before you leave, and in enough time that your teachers and Mrs. Fricky have a time to sign it. With the other paper, we understand things get lost or get left behind. If you find yourself that you don't have the paper, have whoever you met with at the college just email myself or Mrs. Cooper. And they can just email us or give us a call and let us know that you were with them, and then that will be your excusal, because again, we understand sometimes things happen. Take advantage of your college visit days. Go to campus. See what the vibe's like. See how you feel there. Walk around. See how far apart the buildings are, because for some people that is a big contributing factor to choosing a college. Or, see what the dorms look like, or just see how you feel on campus. See if it feels comfortable, or if you feel like overwhelmed or things like that. But schedule an appointment with the admissions office before you go. You'll get more of a one-on-one experience. I can't guarantee it'll just be you and them. Sometimes they may bring in another person and you. And it might be like a small group tour. But typically if you schedule an appointment, it almost exclusively is usually just you and who you bring in the tour guide. But schedule an appointment with the admissions office to be able to walk around and ask to see everything. The worst they'll say is no. Some colleges will let you see dorms, some won't. Some will let you go into lecture halls, some won't. It just kind of depends on the school, but ask, because again, the worst they'll say is no. Talk to the other students on campus, not just the tour guide. Tour guides are great, but it's also their job to sell the college to you, convince you to go to school there. Talk to some of the other students that you see on campus. Get their perspective, what they like, what they don't like, why they chose this college maybe over a different college. Just get their opinion on things and just see what they think and how they came to the decision that they came to. Also, if possible, eat in the dining hall. See what the food is like, especially if you're going to live there. You want to make sure that, especially if you have like special dietary needs or anything like that, you want to make sure that the dining hall is going to be accommodating if you need it to, but also that the food is good. Because if you're going to live there, you don't want to be eating gross food. So if you can, go eat in the dining hall and see what it's like. Make sure that they have things there that you're going to be comfortable eating and okay with eating and enjoying. Requesting a transcript. A lot of you have already done this, but you go to the Mount Pulaski website. Up at the top in the little yellow bar, you'll hit Transcript Request. You'll hit Current Student. You'll fill out the form. It comes to my email. I will send it out. My only caveat, if you fill out the form and where it says, who does it need to go to, and you just put, I don't know, I'm going to send you an email that says, once you know who needs to go to, please let me know. Because I am not going to do the research for you. Now, if you need a transcript set and you're not sure what to do, come and see me, and we will sit down and we'll figure it out together where it needs to go. And if we can't figure it out, then we'll find someone who does know where it needs to go. We can call the college if we need to. Because if it needs to go to a specific person or something, we can make that phone call, absolutely. But please don't just put, I don't know, or leave it blank. Because it does make it more difficult to send that way. So again, if you're not sure, just come and see me and we'll take a look at it and we'll figure it out. Email addresses. We talked a lot when I met with the seniors about the need to check emails. We've got to get in the habit of checking our emails because you do not want to miss out on a scholarship opportunity because they emailed you and you didn't see it or respond, or an admissions decision, or if you're missing something from your application that they're not able to process it, you need to be checking your emails at least, my opinion, once a day at the very least. We talked in class yesterday about how many times on average you can look at how many times on average that we look at our phones throughout the day, and it's a lot, and it's a lot for us too as adults. So 1 or 2 of those times a day, take a quick scroll through your email. What we've also had other students do that I thought was a really good idea is they created a separate email just for college and scholarship stuff because we get a lot of junk mail. And creating an email just for applications and scholarships does cut down the amount of time you're spending scrolling through your emails, looking to see if anything's new, if anything looks important. Because the only thing going to that email, you might get some junk mail, but for the most part, it's just going to be things from the colleges and from scholarships. And so you could always do that too, is create just an email address just for applications and scholarships. Don't use your Mount Pulaski High School email address for anything, because we can't get you guys can't get emails from outside sources, and so don't put it on anything because you're not actually going to get any of the emails. So use your personal email, have it just be kind of as neutral sounding as possible, or create a whole separate one just for these things to make it a little bit easier to keep track of. College applications. You will have to use your full legal name, how it appears on your birth certificate, your driver's license, your social security card, all of that, because the names have to match letter for letter. If your application says one thing and then your social says a different, you could run into issues. So just use your full legal name. And then once you get to the college or once you start to get to know your professors, you can let them know if you prefer to go by a different name. There may be a way on the application to indicate that I'm not sure of, but you do want to make sure that you are putting your full legal name so it can match up with your social without any issues. I always recommend trying to have your applications done by Halloween. That's just my personal suggestion. One, priority deadline for a lot of schools is November 1st. And sometimes if you do by the priority deadline, you'll find out a little bit sooner if you got in, which is always nice. 2, let's just get it over with. Have it done, have it over with before you're getting busy with finals and then coming back for second semester. Like, let's just get it done and over with. And so that's my recommendation. Can you do applications after October 31st? Of course you can. But sometimes it's nice to just be able to cross some things off our list that we have to do. And so if you try to get it done by Halloween, then you won't have to worry about it anymore. I've had students in the past request to do like application workshops where a group of us will get together and work on applications. I've worked with students one-on-one. I've had parents come in with their student and we've all sat down after school and worked on them. Like, I am happy to help however I can. I know for some of you this may be the first time you're working on college applications with one of your students. It's probably also very different from even from when we went to college way back in the day. And so if you have any questions or need any help, please do not hesitate to reach out when it comes to the applications. I am more than happy to help. Early action and early decision, you may see this on applications. Early action is more so like you apply early, you find out a little bit earlier if you got in. They usually say like don't apply to more than one school early action, like do the rest as regular decision. Early decision is a whole different situation though. Early decision is almost like a contract. And so if you apply early decision and you get accepted, you have to go. They're basically saying like, because you applied early decision and that basically means like you were 100% positive that you were going to school there if you got accepted. If you get accepted early decision and decide, I just don't want to go anymore, they can kind of blacklist you, I guess, where you won't be able to go anywhere else for a year. And so only apply early decision if you are 100% positive you are going to school there no matter what. The finances are not going to be an issue. Moving is not going to be an issue if you have to. All of those things are not going to be an issue. Early decision is only if you are 100% positive. Scholarships, I post those in my Google Classroom. All of the seniors, I had them check yesterday to make sure they were in my Google Classroom. If you find that you or your student are not, please let me know and I will send you the code. We do only have students in our Google Classrooms. We don't add parents to our Google Classrooms. And so the students, it's under the scholarship section. Take a look at it every couple of days. Usually like December, January, February is when a lot of them come out. It'll be kind of sparse, but until then. Some of the nationwide ones, some of like the websites that have hundreds and hundreds of scholarships on there are on there, but the more of the local community ones are typically like December, January, February. If it's a paper application, they will be posted on the board between the special ed classrooms downstairs. If you are looking for an application and there isn't one there, let me know because sometimes they all get taken and I don't always have time to go out there and check throughout the day. So just come in here, let me know. If I'm busy, you can let Mrs. Kretzinger or Mrs. Cooper know that we need more, and they'll let me know. Be checking the college websites for applications for scholarships. Most of them, just by doing the application, you will be applying for the scholarship. So just by filling out the application, automatically qualifies you for the scholarship, except for Lincoln Land. Lincoln Lands is separate, and that one comes out, I believe, in like December. I want to say it's open from December to February. But that will be listed on my scholarship list on my Google Classroom, but that is the only one off the top of my head that I can think of that is a separate application to be considered for the scholarships. Be mindful of deadlines. If it's online, if it says it closes at 11:59 at midnight, it is no longer available. They are very diligent about deadlines, and we will be very diligent about them also. We have built great relationships with the community over the years, having people who want to offer our students scholarships. And so we will not take late applications either. We will not offer the chance to turn them in late, because we have to be mindful of their timeline also, of the person who's offering the scholarship. We have to be mindful of their timeline and what works for them. And we don't want to be like, well, no, it was due 4 days ago, but here's another one. We just want to always make sure we're being very conscious of what other people have going on. So there will be no extensions. There will be no taking it late. Be very mindful of the deadlines. There aren't any scholarships that are going to come out and it's like, well, it's due the next day. That doesn't happen. Almost all of them, it may be all of them, have at least a month. Like they'll be posted and it'll be at least a month before it's due. Some of them are even longer. And so they will have plenty of time to work on them. And so there will be no exceptions to the deadlines. They have to be turned in when they are due. Letters of recommendation, only send one if they ask for one. If they don't ask you for one, they probably won't even read it, to be honest. Only send one if they want one. Sometimes they want them for admissions. Sometimes they want them for scholarships. Sometimes, like if your student's going to go straight into the workforce, sometimes they'll want them for that. There are apprenticeships that want letters of recommendation. MTI sometimes will ask for a letter of recommendation if they're going to go there. And so just be mindful of that, but also if they don't ask you for one, you don't need one. I do have a form that students can fill out with all of this information about themselves, like with their extracurriculars, what it's for, all of that information. They can get that from me. They'll fill it out, and it is kind of lengthy, but they'll fill it out and then bring it back to me, and I will make them as many copies as they want. They do not need to fill out more than one, because again, it is kind of a lengthy paper. But bring it back to me. I will make them copies. I will put a copy in their file also, just in case it gets lost. And I will hold on to a copy, and then they will have copies to give out to their teachers or people in the community if they're getting a letter from them. But the more information you provide, the better letter you're going to get. The more that the person knows things about you, the more in-depth and personalized your letter will be. We say try to give 2 weeks notice. We also understand that timelines creep up on people. Sometimes the students are busy. They have a lot of things going on, and so sometimes we don't realize how close it is until it's only a few days away. If you can give 2 weeks notice, great. If you can, but you have to give them at least a couple days. We will always get 1 or 2 of I need a letter of recommendation tomorrow morning, or I need a recommendation by 3 o'clock today because this application is due. And people may not be able to get it done. And it's not because they don't want to help, but the days get busy. And so try, for your benefit and your recommender's benefit, try to give them as much time as possible to get it done. If someone takes the time to write you a letter of recommendation, take the time to say thank you. Write them a thank you note or a thank you email or anything like that. Just take a few minutes. Show your gratitude for them taking time out of their day to help you. I have thank you notes. If you want to write them a note, I'm more than happy to share. Staff is not obligated to write you a letter, though. And so sometimes you may have teachers who say no. And again, not because they don't help, but sometimes they have things going on that they're just too busy and they don't want to say yes and then not be able to deliver. They don't want to be like, yeah, I'll write you a letter. And then it's the day soon they're like, oh, I haven't gotten to it. And so sometimes if you ask somebody, they may have to say no, but then you just move on to somebody else. Also, with online applications, we're seeing more and more that they're asking you to just put in their information. They'll send them an email with a reference form and all that. Always, always, always ask their permission before putting their name on anything. 1, so they're not caught off guard that they're getting this. And 2, we also get a lot of junk email, and so we don't want to accidentally delete it or not realize that this was something important that we needed to do. And so let's say you're in English class. Hey, Mrs. Keeler, would it be okay if I put you as a reference? So that way you're asking her permission, you're letting her know it's coming, and now she knows to look out for it. But always, 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 even when it comes to jobs, other things in life, if you're ever going to put somebody as a reference for anything, always give them a heads up and ask them if it's okay before you list their name anywhere. Because it can be uncomfortable when you're caught off guard by something that you didn't know was coming. And so always just ask if they're cool with it before you put their information out there. Senior of the month. So we do senior of the month every year. We have 9 seniors of the month, September through May. The application is now open in my Google Classroom. So if you go into my MPHS counseling department, under coursework, classwork, whatever it says at the top, under the senior section, it should be the very first thing listed. It should say senior of the month application. You will open that. You'll hit make a copy. You will fill it out. It does not all need to fit on one page. It can be multiple pages if you need it to be, because I want you guys to be as thorough as possible with this. Put all of your extracurriculars, even if it's either at school or out in the community, like whatever you do, if you volunteer, if you, whatever you're doing, if you work, if you volunteer, if you're, whatever you got going on. Once it's done, then share it back to me. It has to be sent back to me by 3:15 on September 3rd. I will not take them late because we have to get them then sent out to who they need to go to so I can get names back so we can get our September Senior of the Month going. And so it has to be back to me by 3:15 on September 3rd. I will not take them late. The form, again, is in my Google Classroom. Again, make a copy of it, fill it out, and then share it back to me. Once we hit the deadline, so on 3/16 on September 3rd, I will print them all out, and we do it on a blind judging. So what we do is we print them all out. I white out everyone's names, and I keep a list of who's what number, so I know who to give it to. But we white out everybody's name. We send them over to the grade school. 3 staff members at the grade school read through them. They pick their top 9. The 9 students with the most amount of votes, that's who gets it. We only do 9. So if we have 15 applicants, 6 people are not going to get it. We only do 9. Our sponsors have agreed to 9. And so we stick with the 9. So once I have the 9, what we do then is we'll put them in a wheel of names. And me, Mrs. Kretzinger, and Mrs. Cooper, we spin the wheel, and whoever pops up, that's who gets it that month. There is no us choosing. There is no, oh, well, we think this person deserves it this month, so we're just going to, nope. The wheel of names picks every single month. And so please don't, if you end up getting it and you don't get it till May, please don't think it's because of anything other than this is what the wheel chose. Checks, students who are Senior of the Month get $100, Senior of the Year get $500. Checks do not come until the end of the school year. And so we have our sponsors write all the checks at once. Some of them bring them to us, and some of them mail them themselves. So you may get one in the mail, you may get one from the school, you may get them both in the mail. It just kind of depends on how they choose to do it. But they will not come until the end of the year typically. But again, 3:15 on the 3rd, applications due back to me so I can get them sent out to the grade school so they can pick their 9. They can get them back to me, and we can get the ball rolling on Senior of the Month. But again, we do only choose 9. And so make sure when you're filling out your application, you make it as thorough as possible. Even if you're like, well, I don't know if anybody would really care about this, put it on there anyway. Put it on there anyway. Put everything on there that you think you would want someone to know. Put it on there. Be as thorough as possible. This is a great opportunity for you to advocate for yourself, brag about yourself a little bit, all the great things that you all are doing. But put it as much as you can on there, and just let it be known why you deserve to be Senior of the Month. So that's really all of the information I have for you guys. If you have questions, here's contact information, the phone number, my email. Please feel free to reach out to me about anything. There are no silly questions. I feel like we have a lot in this class who, a lot of the students are the oldest in their families. And so if you have any questions, anything you're unsure of, let me know. Email me, call me. If you see me at Walmart, feel free to ask me. And if I don't know, I will figure out who does know, and we'll go from there. But again, there are no silly questions. Please do not hesitate to reach out to me if you have any questions about anything.